Hey, gun people. Here we go. I got to do Tatum's video after this one. I just did the one about the 2 hero girls that made all the cops look even more cowardly. But this guy, I've only heard like the first 30 seconds of this interview, so I have no idea. It's a 36-minute interview. I'll probably bump forward on some things. If I miss something, you can go watch it. This is on CBS News where this is posted. Here we go.
Under the Department of Public Safety assume lead responsibility of this horrific murder of 19 innocent child and 2 adults. Our goal today is to provide the parents, the community of Uvalde, the public, as much information as we can.
I want to speed him up.
And where we are on the investigation. We're here to report the facts as we know them now, not to defend what was done or to criticize what was done.
Okay, that's a good point, and this is the first time they're kind of saying this. I want to give you the facts. I'm not defending we did it right. We're not trying to figure out all the problems we have. I get it. There's going to be after-action report, but they still need to give us the facts, though, and there's still a whole bunch of facts that I doubt I'm going to get. Like, how many rounds were fired at the kids? How many bullet holes were in all the kids and the dead kids and teachers? Were they all the bad guys' bullet holes, or did the cops shoot some of them? Those are the things that how many rounds did the cops fire? How many people made entry when they breached the door? Those are things that I want to know. How many children did they find alive? How many children would have lived if the cops didn't wait for an hour to go in and let them bleed out? Those are the questions that I have.
Or the actions taken. I'll begin first and foremost with the timeline as we know it. The second timeline will discuss is the 911 of the subject. We'll also have plenty of time for questions. Evidence, 11:27. The exterior door suspected of where we knew the shooter entered, Ramos, was propped open by a teacher. 11:28. The suspect vehicle crashes into the ditch, as previously described. The teacher runs to the room 132 to retrieve a phone, and that same teacher walks back to the exit door, and door remains propped open. There were 2 males, as reported by Regional Director Escalon yesterday. There were 2 males at a funeral home that when they heard the crash, they went to the crash scene. When they arrived at the crash scene, before they got there, they saw a man with a gun exit the passenger side with a backpack. They immediately began running. Ramos began shooting at him. Did not hit him.
So I'm assuming someone called 911 after they had a car shoot at them and there was an accident. Another thing that I'm hearing is there was no SRO, school resource officer, at the school. There's only 6. Of course, government's always going to say we don't have enough people. There's only 6 SROs and they have 8 buildings. So my guess is if we check the log, all 8 buildings didn't have an SRO. They were meeting for lunch. They were at training because they always need more training. They were on vacation. We need more government in order to fix this. It's all BS. I also heard the SRO drove by the crash scene and saw the guy with the gun. Why he didn't stop, I don't know. Is that true? I don't know. We've gotten so much false information. I'm asking a lot of questions. You guys have all the answers. You're restricting all the video. You have all the witnesses. You have all the crime scene photos. That's why us pesky citizens ask questions. So for you to get upset like they did in the last 2 interviews because we're asking questions, that tells me you're trying to hide something. You're trying to cover your weasel coward asses. Sorry, I'm going to try to keep this clean.
One of the males fell when he was running. Both males returned to the funeral home while they're running. And then again, we see through video.
Man, they snapped all the wheels off. He must have landed high and hard to snap like that.
Teacher reemerges inside the school in panic and apparently calls 911.
So we have more 911 calls. Remember, 911 when he shot his mom, stole her truck, 911 when he crashed, 911 when he was shooting at people, and that's only if one person called. My guess is multiple people are calling. And now we have people at the school calling. Lots of 911 calls that we haven't heard one. The 11-year-old girl that was trapped inside wanting the cops to come in. When they didn't come in, Where's her 911 call? How many other 911 calls came from the school? Nobody's asking. Maybe we'll find out. We'll see.
911 call at 11:30. There was a crash, man with a gun. 11:31, the suspect reaches last row of vehicles in the school parking lot. 11:31, the suspect shooting began at the school while patrol vehicles got to the funeral home.
So he is shooting rounds at the school before the cops even arrive. And yet there's still a door propped open, and yet a teacher opened a door and he was able to get in. Government failure. Remember the school, I'm calling out the cops for their failures. The government runs the schools. More government failure. The government runs the 911 operators. More government failure. The government ran the background checks on him when he bought the guns legally. More government failure. And what is the government going to say? We need more government to fix this. Don't buy it, people.
I'll point out where it is. Suspect hiding behind a vehicle, started walking down, shooting into the classroom.
Wow, he shot into 1, 2, 3 different classrooms. You don't think all the teachers and everybody in the school is maybe calling 911? Kids are texting parents. Kids are calling 911. The number of 911 calls that went in, I bet you are in excess of 50. And we're not hearing any of them. We're not talking about that. Call that a clue.
There was a discussion early on that an ISD, consolidated ISD for Uvalde, had officer, was a resource officer, had confronted the subject. That did not happen, as R.D. Escalon talked about yesterday. It was certainly stated in preliminary interviews, but often these preliminary interviews and a cursory walkthrough doesn't reveal the type of information, and certainly, police officers, like anyone else, under stress, sometimes witnesses get it wrong.
I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that. A mistake in an interview, no problem. That's after the incident. I don't have a problem with that. I got a problem when 18 or 19 cops are in a hallway and you got an active shooter in the classroom. I got a problem with that. Rick, you're just being too tough on the cops. They're heroes and it's a tough job. Shut up.
But the bottom line is that officer was not on scene, not on campus, but had heard the 911 call with a man with a gun, drove immediately to the area, sped to what he thought was the man with a gun, to the back of the school, what turned out to be a teacher and not the suspect. In doing so, he drove right by the suspect, who was hunkered down behind a vehicle, where he began shooting at the school.
Okay, so that clears it up, because I heard he drove by the guy. This clears it up. This is a good press. Thanks. We got good information. He heard the shooting. He saw a person at the rear of school. He went back there to check him out and engage. Turned out to be a teacher. Meanwhile, the coward killer was hiding behind a car. I'm okay with this so far. I mean, I'm not okay with it took so long for him to get there, and why didn't they connect the 911 call from the grandmother getting shot and a stolen truck, and he's shooting at a funeral home, and now he's at a school in a small town of less than 1 or 2 square miles, and you can't get a cop there for 10 or 15 minutes, and then when you get there, you don't go in and save the kids, you hold parents back. Those are my issues.
Patrol vehicle gets to the funeral home. Multiple shots are fired outside the school at 11:31. Patrol car accelerates into the parking lot, drives by the shooter. That's exactly what I was talking about. That was the ISD officer at that time. He passes and then leaves the camera view. There's multiple shots fired at the school at 11:32, at 11:32:27, 11:32:36. At 11:33 is when the suspect entered the school at the door that I'm pointing to now.
Multiple rounds fired at the school, so that report was right. I heard it was 12 minutes he was shooting at the school. I don't know if that's right, but he was shooting at the school before he entered, which is relevant because people should be locking doors. People should be locking kids down. People should be calling 911. People should be planning. Cops should be coming from everywhere, and it still takes them too long.
11:33, the suspect begins shooting into room 111 or 112. It's not possible to determine from the video angle that we have at this point in time.
From the video angle, meaning they have video inside the school. It was just a bad angle. See, the Freedom of Information Act is really critical in this because That is the only way you prove that government isn't lying to you and covering their incompetent asses. And then they're screaming for more money and more people, and other idiots vote for it and go, yeah, that's what we need. That'll keep us safe. Yeah, if we just had more government, we'd be safe. If we had more good people without guns, yeah, that's going to stop crazy killers like this because you take my gun. Okay, I've been a cop for over 30 years. I've carried a gun since I was freaking 12, 14. I've had a gun. I've never shot anybody. And you want to take my gun and make it harder for me to defend myself because of this idiot. And there'll be other idiots saying, yeah, that's a good idea because you're an idiot.
We do know this, that he shot more than 100 rounds based on the audio evidence at that time, at least 100 rounds.
It's been 5 days to process this scene. You can't tell me they don't know how many rounds they found. You recover spent casings and you recover bullet holes, and you're taking pictures, and you have people assigned to rooms and to areas, and you do grid search. I mean, they have had plenty of time to process this scene. And he's saying, from the video, it appears he fired over 100 rounds. I don't believe that. And I just told you why I don't believe it. We should have more. We've recovered over 100 casings. We have pictures of over 100 rounds that were hit. We, as the cops, only fired so many rounds. And we found this many rounds. I mean, this, from the video footage, it sounds like I call bullshit on that. I could be wrong. They could be telling us the 100% truth, and they're not trying to hide anything. And if you believe that, well, we call that a clue.
He entered at 11:33, or 11:33, he started shooting in the classrooms, 111 and 112. And 11:35, 3 police officers entered the same door as the suspect entered. All 3 of those police officers worked for the Uvalde Police Department.
Good info. I didn't know this. So the local PD did show up and entered the school. Been a while. I mean, they should have been charging the school. I mean, they should have been going balls to the wall. Let's go. Where are the shots coming from? Where are the kids from? So we call that a clue. If kids are running this way, the cops should go the opposite way. Kids aren't going to run to a shooter. They're going to run away from a shooter. So it's not rocket science to figure out where is the shooter. That's where I'm going. Okay? That's what men and real cops do. We'll see what these guys did.
They were later followed by another 4, a team of Uvalde police officers, 3, and also a county deputy sheriff.
Wait a minute. 4 other guys backed them up, or another guy that made 4? I lost that.
Those police officers worked for the Uvalde Police Department. They were later followed by another 4, a team of Uvalde police officers, 3, and also a county deputy.
It sounds like they had 4 guys on top of the 3, which is 7. Oh my God. An hour later, they enter, people. I mean, you guys may not find this as offensive as I do. As a cop, this just freaking amazes and pisses me off. I guarantee you, if me or my partner would have been there, we'd have been on that dude and we'd have either been shot or he'd have been shot. But we would have been on that dude. Now remember, you got, according to this, 7 cops going after the guy when he's shooting. And somehow, an hour later and 19 kids dead later, they make entry. Anybody that doesn't have a problem with that and is defending this, I don't get it.
Deputy sheriff. So a total of 7 officers were on the scene. The 3 initial police officers that arrived went directly to the door, and 2 received grazing wounds at that time from the suspect.
Grazing wounds. So, am I supposed to be impressed? If I get a grazing wound and there's a bunch of innocent children in there, I'm just going to leave? Not me. You can call me a liar and a pussy and saying I wasn't there. I'm telling you right now, I've been in worse situations than this. I wasn't actually shot, but I ain't backing down when there's a bunch of kids in there unarmed. I don't give a shit. I don't even care if I don't get a grazing wound. If I get a wound to where I can still move to the guy, I'm going forward. That's what men do. That's what real cops do.
While the door was closed. 11:37, there was more gunfire. Another 16 rounds was fired at 11:37. One at 11:37.
Who fired the 16 rounds? The cops or the killer?
and 16 seconds, 11:38, 11:40, 11:44. At 11:51, a police sergeant and UFB agents started to arrive. At 12:03.
Wait a minute. 16 rounds were fired by who and what happened? Did the cops go in? Did they run? What? Maybe we'll find out.
Officers continued to arrive in the hallway, and there was as many as 19 officers at that time in that hallway.
19 cops. At what time did he say? 41, 51? Hang on.
16 rounds was fired at 11:37.
11:37.
One at 11:37 and 16 seconds, 11:38, 11:40, 11:44. At 11:51, a police sergeant and UFB agents started to arrive.
11:51. There were how many freaking cops there? And it still took you over a half hour after that to get in?
At 12:03, officers continued to arrive in the hallway, and there was as many as 19 officers at that time in that hallway.
19 officers at 12:03. That's 30 minutes after he got at the school. Because I think he said he got there at 30 or 32. Should be writing this down.
At 12:15, we know that BORTAC members arrived. Not the
What? Wait a minute. When you're at a critical incident where people are getting killed, you can't gloss over minutes and minutes and minutes. We're talking about seconds. I see a guy, he shoots at me, I have him in my sights, I have backup or I don't have backup, I engage and I charge and I keep him pinned down and I keep shooting at him so he can't go shoot at anybody else. That's what real cops do. We're kind of glossing over what the hell these cops did.
The entire BORTAC, but members of BORTAC, along with Shields. At 12:21, the suspect fired again, was believed to be at the door.
At 12, what time?
BORTAC, but members of BORTAC, along with Shields. At 12:21, the suspect fired again.
12:21. All this time is passing. What are the cops doing? Are they exchanging gunfire? Are they moving? Are they gaining ground? Did they leave? What the hell happened? If he's shooting at the cops, he's not killing kids. So what you're telling me is, if he's shooting at the cops, when he stopped shooting at the cops, he went in there and killed 19 kids because you guys didn't follow him in?
Was believed to be at the door. At 11:21, law enforcement moved down the hallway. At 11:50, they breached the door.
11:50. We went from the cops showed up at 12:05. We had 18 cops there. Now we have a team 40 minutes later, and they're moving down the hallway. What? That's not a fucking timeline. Hey man, what happened yesterday? Well, I woke up, I had breakfast, and I went to bed. That's my timeline. What the? Are you kidding me?
Using keys that they're able to get from the janitor, because both doors were locked. Both of the classrooms that he shot into were locked when officers arrived. They killed the suspect at that time.
They killed him. How many officers shot and how many rounds did they fire? Did the suspect shoot back at them? Was he out of ammo? If you had time to contact the janitor and get a freaking key, what the hell was going on when all this time? Were kids yelling for help? Yeah, we know one kid was calling 911, saying the cops are here and they're not coming in. We know they got at least one phone call from inside saying help from an 11-year-old girl. And he just kind of glossed over all that. We got a key, made entry, killed a guy. We are freaking heroes. If not for our quick and swift actions, more deaths would have occurred. Are you freaking kidding me? Every briefing I have got from DPS on this incident has been more screwed up, cryptic, bullshit, bullshittery, cop lingo, cop splaining bullshit. Wow.
And now I'd like to go over the 911 timeline.
That's it. That's all we know. Shooting happened on what, Tuesday or Monday? It's now Saturday? This is your timeline? How many? There's so many questions. See, let me give you guys a clue. When I do a search warrant for a judge and I run it by DA and I bring it to a judge in order to get a search warrant, My goal is to put everything I know in the search warrant so the DA or the judge doesn't have any questions. If I do a warrant and a judge or a DA asks me questions, I failed at my warrant. Either I know the answer and I should have put it in the warrant, or I don't know the answer. That's why it's not in there. So I'm okay if they ask questions that I don't know. But if they ask a question that I know, I failed. How many questions do you think I could ask this guy that I'm pretty sure he knows the answer, but he ain't saying it? That's not a good report. I mean, what do you guys do? You guys, Texas Department of Public Safety, I love that public safety. Texas Department of Public Safety, State Police, Highway Patrol, the Texas Rangers, whatever you want to call them for the day to make them look like heroes. This is the kind of briefing they give? See, they're so used to writing a ticket and putting on the back of the ticket, suspect had an attitude, he was speeding. And that's their report. That's the big report that they do on the back of a ticket. And now we're getting shit briefings like this since the beginning of this incident.
So more than I read it than you listen to it. The caller identified, I'll not say her name, but she was in room 112, called 911 at 12:03. The duration of the call was 1 minute 23 seconds. She identified herself and whispered she's in room 112. At 12:10, she called back in room 12, advised her multiple dead. 12:13, again, she called on the phone. Again, at 12:16, she called back and said there was 8 to 9 students alive. At 12:19, the 911 call was made, and another person in room 111 called. I will not say her name. She hung up when another student told her to hang up. At 12:21, you could hear over the 911 call that 3 shots were fired. At 12:36, 911 call, it lasted for 21 seconds. The initial caller called back, student child called back, was told to stay on the line and be very quiet. She told 911 that he shot the door. At approximately 12:43 and 12:47, she asked 911 to please send the police now.
Oh my fuck. I'm fucking speechless. I can't believe it. Are you kidding me? You've got 19 cops in the hallway and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different 911 calls from kids inside getting killed. And you freaking cowards don't go in? Are you freaking kid? Every time I find out more information, I am just so much more upset with the complete failure and cowardness of these freaking cops. Now, I know what's going to happen. These cops are going to come here and they're going to come out. Well, we were told by command to stand down. We were told to wait. We were told, because they're going to play this hostage thing. Okay, when there's a hostage situation, most departments have a policy, and I don't know if they'll show a policy or not, that you call SWAT, you secure the area, and you hold the ground. You only do that if he's not killing everybody. If he's killing all the hostages, there's no point in waiting. What are you waiting for? Why are you there? Are you there to save the bad guy? Are you there to talk the bad guy out so he can get counseling after he kills everybody? I mean, that's what they did. They waited till they killed all these helpless kids outside. And now I'm getting heat from the cops saying, man, those cops are cowards. It was tough. I guarantee you these cops are going to be saying, I wanted to go in. You're going to hear all these brave cops. I would have went in. I wanted to go in. They told me I couldn't. I was told to stand down. I couldn't go in. Policy says, you know what? Doing the right and the wrong thing is not that hard. I don't need policy. I don't need to wait for somebody to tell me. Okay, I'm driving by and I see somebody beating the shit out of a kid on the side of the road. I don't need to consult somebody on whether or not I should stop and get this guy off this kid. I'm going to stop and get him off. Okay? That's reasonable. And it's even more reasonable if you're getting paid a freaking salary and given training with a gun and a vest and your bulletproof shield and your fancy car with all your lights, and you can go out there and write tickets, and if a guy runs from you from a ticket writing, you'll chase him till the ends of the earth and kill everybody on the road. But when innocent children are in there getting slaughtered and you get 9 freaking 911 calls from kids saying, help me, and you don't go in, what the hell else is it other than cowardness? I am just freaking appalled by this. Oh, somebody told me, dude, when you watch that briefing, you're going to get pissed. I can't believe it. Unfreaking believable.
At 12:46, she said that she could hear the police next door. At 12:50, shots are fired. They could be heard with a 911 call. And at 12:51, it's very loud and sounds like the officers are moving children out of the room. At that time, the first child that called was outside before the call cuts off.
Unfucking believable. Oh my God. How do you cops, any of you, stand around with your head up after this? And how do you defend cops that did this? And every cop that defends this shit, I'm sorry, man. You just have no credibility whatsoever if you can defend this. Can I defend that there was confusion? Sure. Can I defend that all the officers were getting multiple directions from multiple agencies and there was confusion? Sure. Can I say that it wasn't an ideal situation and there wasn't clear instructions? Sure, I can say all that. How do you say you got kids calling for help and they're being slaughtered and you've got a gun and you don't go in? I mean, even if you're a citizen, even if you're not a parent and you're there, I know plenty of people, even without a gun, they would have went in. Yet our trained hero cops that I keep hearing come in here beat me up saying I'm making it worse for cops, they didn't go in and they had 19 strong against one guy. You got a guy that bought a gun 2 or 3 days ago, a week ago at the most, not tactically trained, 18 years old, and he holds off 19 cops and they wait for SWAT while he kills 19 kids and the kids are calling on 911 crying for help. Are you freaking kidding? And you idiots are out there saying, oh yeah, we need more gun control. That'll fix this. This is government failure, government protection, cops covering for cops, ineptness covering for ineptness. This is a colossal failure on all levels, and it has nothing to do with a legal, lawful gun owner such as myself. Nothing. Out freaking outrageous.
Information that we have is that there are 58 total magazines at the school related to the crime scene. 11 of those magazines were inside the school. 3 were on the suspect's body.
Okay, this sounds really good, like he was really armed to the hilt. Were the magazines you found loaded, or were they not loaded? Were they empty because he fired all the rounds? Or did he drop them because he was panicking? We know he panicked when he got out of the car and left a gun and a bag. I mean, I don't know how many rounds this guy had or how many magazines. A magazine is $15, $20 each. The guns he bought were over $3,500 at a minimum with his gear. And then he bought supposedly all these rounds, which is hard to find in the first place, plus it's expensive. And we still don't know, how did he get the money for the guns? And how did the government not hit him up on a background check? And supposedly he was arrested. I don't know if that's true. They're not confirming it. He was arrested a few years ago for making threats. If he was arrested for making threats when he bought a gun, you would think government, with their background, would have caught it. And they didn't. More government failure. I mean, this has nothing to do with the freaking gun. This is about government incompetence and failure, always telling the pesky citizens, pay more taxes, we need more government, we need more cops, we need your guns so we can keep you safe. It's bullshit. You put up signs at schools, this is no gun zone, and not one school shooting did it prevent. Not one! Not one! All it prevented was good people from arming themselves. These teachers, I bet, would have gave their life to have a gun. They gave their life without a gun. I never interviewed a rape victim that didn't say, I wish I had a gun. Never. Never. I don't care how anti-gun she was. After she was raped, every one of them, I wish I had a gun. I mean, it is absolutely absurd that anybody can buy in that if you take guns away and you make stricter gun laws, it would stop a crazy man from doing this. It would stop the total and failure breakdown of incompetent government, that teachers didn't lock the school, cops didn't follow the 911, school resource officers weren't at the school where they were supposed to be, cops didn't respond. When they did respond, they didn't engage, they didn't chase the suspect, they hid in the freaking hallway, they left, they waited for a SWAT team, they got 9 phone calls from kids inside, and yet I'm getting heat because I'm saying the cops are cowards, and cops are out there saying I'm part of the problem. It's my fault that people don't like cops, because I'm saying what I believe. I'm telling you, people, this is the most colossal failure I've ever seen in a long. I mean, I can't even think of another. I'm looking at Kent State, and I'm like, you know what? They went in and shot all those kids at college. That was the National Guard. Because there was one shooter in Texas. If you go back to the tower, one cop with a 6-shooter. This guy was at a tower shooting down, killing people, innocent people. One cop with a 6-shooter gun ran up a bunch of flight of stairs, went up there and shot and killed the dude. One cop. That's when men were men and cops were cops. Okay? Now we have 50 cops, and if you run from them on a highway, you'll see 50 cops chasing them in cars and trashing and running people off the road and then shooting up everybody in sight. But when kids are getting slaughtered and calling from inside, and you hear gunshots, so you know it's still an active shooter and he's killing innocent people, how can you justify, it was miscommunication, we didn't know, we could have done better, I'm not sure, we're not cowards though, yeah. Not one fucking man out of all you motherfuckers couldn't go, these fucking kids are getting shot, I'm going in the fucking room, get out of my way. How hard is that? Man, you guys are pussy cowards, every one of you, for not stepping up. I don't want to hear this bullshit about policy and this and that. You know these kids are screaming for help. You're outside with a fucking gun, and you don't go in and save them. You are a fucking pussy. Jesus Christ.
2 in room 112, 6 inside room 111, 5 were on the ground, 1 was in the rifle. There were 32 magazines outside the school, but on school property, 1 just outside the school building, and 31 in the suspect's backpack that he did not take into the classrooms with him.
So it sounds like this guy had over like 60 or 90 freaking mags. That's a lot of mags. I got a lot of magazines. I don't know if I have that many magazines. Or any of those magazines cops? Because cops drop mags all the time. When they're running, they pop out. Sometimes they're holding their gun, they hit the button and it pops out. Some of their gear hit the button and it pops out. We don't know that. See, every question that I can ask that we don't know, that's a clue that your briefing sucks. Because when you prepare your briefing, you're like, well, what questions could they come up with after I do this briefing? Well, they might ask, where are all the mags? They might ask, how many rounds did the cops fire? They might ask, how many rounds did the cops take from the suspect? They might ask this question. Maybe I should see if I have an answer. That's how you do a briefing, okay? It's not a freaking traffic ticket. See you in court. Sign here. Press hard. 3 copies.
There were 15 magazines at the crash site. There were 2 magazines at the suspect's residence for a total of 60 magazines. He had purchased and had a total of 1,657 total rounds of ammunition. 315 of those.
Oh yeah, let's show these brave guys running. This is after these guys are running. What are they running to? Hey, donut trucks over here, free donuts. That's about the only time you're going to see
rounds were inside
like
the
this.
school. 142 of those were spent cartridges. 173 were live rounds. 922 were outside of the school, but on school property. 22 of those were spent cartridges. 900 were live rounds.
See, I don't give a shit. Why are we focusing on a bunch of ammo? You know why? Because we shouldn't have high-capacity mags, and we shouldn't be able to buy this much ammo. We should control how many ammo. If people couldn't buy ammo, you couldn't have done that. If they couldn't buy magazines, they couldn't do that. He can run a freaking bus. He can steal a truck and run it through a school zone any day, any morning, or any night when school starts or stops. Okay, it's not that freaking hard to do evil if you want to do evil. Taking guns and ammo from good people will not stop evil people.
422 were at the crash site. 22 were spent cartridges. 420 of those were live rounds. There's 35 spent law enforcement cartridges total in the school.
35 total. Okay, it might be nice when those 35 were fired. Were they at the front when they took rounds first? Was it at the door when they entered? That might be a good question.
8 of those were in the hallway. 27 were inside the classroom. 111 where the suspect was killed.
Oh, wait a minute. He might have just answered that. Here I am, gave him shit. I didn't listen. Rick, you need to listen. Well, maybe I do.
live rounds. There's 35 spent law enforcement cartridges total in the
35 total. All right.
school. 8 of those were in the hallway. 27 were inside the classroom. 111 where the suspect was killed.
27 rounds where he was killed. I guarantee you, people. Oh, wait a minute. What happened here?